And we are live. Welcome to Silent Mystics. My name is Diana. I'm with my host, Jeryl Ann. Welcome to the world of the mystical, the magical, the metaphysical, and the sometimes unexplained. We're here with someone that I don't really know you well yet, and I can't wait to get to know you better. This is Karen Scolante. Scolante.
That really does
I'm
great.
going to
You
turn
did a
this.
great job.
Very good. I got there.
Yes, you
I'm going to
did.
turn the show over to Jeryl Ann, and she can introduce her friend to all of us, and it'll be great to get to know you better, Karen. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Oh,
My pleasure.
you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I got to meet Karen a couple of years ago. We are both holistic life coaches, but in addition to that, and we only live about an hour away from each other. So when our mutual friend in California, we were in the same group when she sent out the mailing list. I went, "Oh my gosh, she just lives right down the street
The
from me."
block,
Because
yep.
here in North Central Florida, an hour away is your next door neighbor, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I'm so excited that you're with us, Karen. And
Me
Karen
too.
is a certified crystal healer. She's so many things. She's just an amazing person. I wish you all were here in person to get to meet her. She also is an intuitive and an empath, and she uses her gifts, intuitive gifts, to choose and recommend just the right crystal for people to help the mind, body, and the spirit. She's so knowledgeable in crystals. In fact, I get my crystals from her.
Yes,
She
you
used to
do.
have a store called Mama Gaia's, and I think she may still have an Etsy store. So, but we'll get into that a little bit later. She really works with people to give them a deeper understanding of crystals and minerals and how they interact with the body and how we can all heal by using all the natural elements that are around us. She's also an emotional freedom technique coach and a certified holistic life coach and an ordained minister. And in addition, she has a business degree and she is also a certified pastry chef. And I had
Wow.
no idea. Girl, we're going to do some cooking.
Oh,
That's
wait
all
till
I can say.
Christmas.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to her house at Christmas. Welcome, Carol. Karen, I am so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Now, we had the opportunity last night to talk a little bit, and I you told me a story about when you were in the third grade, and it really, this show is about mystical experiences and everything else, and you're an empath, you're a reader, you do all of these wonderful things. So I asked you last night, when was the first time you knew you were special, or maybe had knew something other people didn't?
Yeah. Well, I was in the third grade, so I was about 8 years old, and it was 1964 in November. And if you know what that date signifies, you will understand what happened. So I was sitting in class, and all of a sudden, the PA system came on, and I heard the principal, and he was announcing something, and I turned to my classmate and I said, "Oh, probably somebody died." And then all of a sudden, they announced the assassination of JFK. And that like freaked me and everybody else around me out, because they were like, "How'd you know?" I said, "I don't know. I just did."
Wow.
And yeah, it was pretty powerful. And it really did start me on a long journey, but it wasn't until later. I was a little older in in high school when I really started to expand my gifts.
Mhm. So were you one of those outsider kids that were you good at trying to? Yeah, that's what I can already see it on your face.
Oh
Those of
yeah.
us that are like different, super sensitive, seeing stuff that we shouldn't. We were like, why are we so different? Feeling everything,
Well,
little
that's the thing
aliens.
is like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to interrupt, but
no, go ahead. You jump right in.
when you're an empath and you don't really know you're an empath and you're around all these kids and you just feel everything, and I was bullied. I was a chubby little kid, and back then I wasn't really fat, but I wasn't skinny, so I was always made fun of. But I could always feel the animosity. I could feel the negativity. I could feel all of that stuff. And that was harder, I think, than that the actual bullying
Yeah.
was dealing with the feelings.
Now,
Even
go ahead, Diana.
no, I just feel like I know myself and my children because I've got daughters, and even if someone looks at you funny, it's because you feel everything, and it's like they don't even have to say anything. They're looking at you funny, and you're like, yeah, there's some negative energy there, and you're just always, but you don't know. It's like I don't know why. And I'll tell you one thing, and you probably can relate to this, is that I just thought everyone was like me, and I couldn't figure out why they had such an easy time, and I'm getting bombarded and everything, like the lighting, the food, the sounds, the smells, everything would make me sick or make me, I was hypersensitive to everything. And I couldn't figure out why I had such, even in my home life, having 4 siblings, why were they having such an easy time? And why was I the one that was so easily hurt? So it sounds like you can relate.
Oh, absolutely. And I started self-medicating at a young age because I
Yeah.
just couldn't. And I think we all do go through that, as empaths, and we don't really know until we're told. And you wonder, like, why am I getting all this anxiety? What's going on? And I'm feeling all this crap. I know it's not me, but I don't know where it's coming from. So, I was like 15, 16 years old and started smoking pot and doing other things just because I just, I had to deal with it. And it was really difficult.
Yeah, you
You
have to
know?
mellow yourself out. You have to, I hate to use this word, but it feels like you're dumbing yourself down. It's like we see things, we know things, like we're
Right.
so sensitive to these things. And it's like we know something that other people just aren't picking up on, and other people don't understand that. And then you almost have to just try to be invisible. That's what I was. I just had to do something to be, I'll just sit here quietly in the corner. You guys go on your merry way.
I wish I know. I wish I could have been in the corner quietly, but I wasn't one of those kids. I was I was a rebel from the day I was born, and so I used to go, oh my gosh, I'm one of those people that roots for the underdog. So if somebody's hurting somebody, I'm going to say something, and right, I think a lot of us are like that because we know how it is, and so I could never really keep quiet.
Yeah.
And I got into a lot of trouble because of my mouth because I didn't have any filter on it.
Okay. Now, your family, we were talking about this a little bit too. I'm so sorry. I've got my volume. I'm trying to share us out here and it was not working very well. Now, your family was also empathic, and you also have a son that's empathic, and is your daughter as well, and your mom. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, when I was growing, see, I didn't really know any of this stuff, and my mother, well, they were brought up Catholic, so all that stuff was, you didn't do that. That was evil. That was of the devil, So,
Yeah.
so, but my mother was, she was very psychic because one day I was away at college, and I'm like, "Hi, Mom." She's like, "What's the matter?" And I just started bawling, and you know, so that's what she would do. She would just know if there was something wrong. She wouldn't even have to look at me. She would just know. And so I realized later on when she got older and when we had the shop, she would come visit me every Sunday, and she was like 87, and we would sit there and I would talk to the customers, and she would learn all this stuff, and she realized how much she missed out on because she was never taught or shown. But she loved it. She was like a little sponge. So and I don't know about my dad so much. He was more of a narcissist, so it's kind of hard to be a narcissist and an empath at the same time. But my son is very empathic. He's a high empath, which means that he has all of the clairs, and it's really hard for him. So he hides in his man cave a lot. And my daughter, she's into Wiccan, but she's very into the crystals too, like me. So yeah, so I come from a lot of, I think, I'm sometimes it can be passed on generation to generation.
I think often, yes. Lifetime to lifetime. I don't know about you, but I've been doing this a lot. I've been going around doing this quite a long time. and and it starts to come back through, and you're like, why am I interested in that? I don't understand why I'm so attracted to brooms and cauldrons, and like we have these attractions and these
Yep.
hidden abilities, and now we're kind of, I don't know about you, but more and more people are bringing that back through. It's like it's time for us to wake up and go ahead and enjoy all of that. That's what I feel like.
Absolutely.
So I'm having fun with it. I love listening to you because these things that you're saying, like, oh, crystals, go ahead. Please tell us more about what you do with the crystals, because I love them and I feel them, and they draw me all over the place when I go in rock shops. It's crazy.
I know, me too. It's crazy. But now I do need to you give me specific questions, because I could start anywhere and talk probably for the
Okay.
next, I know, 8 weeks straight.
Mhm.
So give me some place to start.
Okay, I have a place for you to start, because we talked about this last night a little bit, because in some of the healing work that I'm going to be doing, I need to use them on a grid, a layout, right? And you brought up something that honestly, I thought I knew so much about crystals. And when I talked to you, I realized I know about that much.
Well, I know about that much.
Well, you know a lot more than I do for sure. But you were talking to me about and not just programming crystals, but being able to talk to your crystals. And would you that's really what fascinates me. I don't think a lot of people know how to or
Communicate with
realize
them.
I think we think innately that they know what it is they're supposed to do.
Well,
So
they do. But the thing is that, see, if you open up any crystal book and you read, you're going to read paragraphs of information on what they do. I
okay.
hate that term. Oh, what does my crystal do? Well, it just depends on what you need.
Yeah.
Okay, that drives me nuts. But anyway, that's a pet peeve. But we'll move on from that. So, so when you choose a crystal to help you with something, because this
Right.
is why we use them, because they're our allies. So when we choose a crystal, you may not get all the stuff it does. All right, you may get one or two characteristics that it's actually really strong in, that will help you the most. Okay, and that's a lot of reasons why we're attracted to crystals. Now, one thing I want to talk about being attracted to crystals, there are people who go, oh, I picked up that crystal and oh, I couldn't stand it. I know a woman who can't even hold a rose quartz in her hand. Okay,
Really?
which is pretty tragic. And I'll tell you why, because crystals, when you hold them and they produce a strong feeling or a negative feeling, I like to use strong feeling, they produce a strong feeling, it's because they're showing you something in you that you need to address. Okay, I'll give you an example. I was at a show one time and I had this beautiful obsidian wand. It was about 6-7 inches, and it had 6 facets, and it was a silver sheen obsidian. And someone picked it up and I heard it go plunk, and it flew out of her hand. Literally, it went right out of her hand. And I looked at her and I said, are you dealing with some stuff you don't want to look at right now? And she's like, oh no. And all three of her friends were like, oh yeah. So, crystals know what you need. And it was so, there was so much stuff that she just couldn't handle it. So it was too much for her. That's why it just flew right out of her hand. But when you pick up a crystal, you're either going to feel really good, which means that you're getting more of what you need, okay, in a positive way. Or if you feel badly, it's because it's showing you that part of your shadow side that has to be worked on. Okay, so that's what they do. Now, as far as programming, Crystal, I'm sorry, I did digress a little bit, but
It's okay.
okay. But as far as programming them, they do communicate. See, crystals are very high vibration beings. They are actual entities. It's just that we can't see them as living beings because we look at us human bodies and as flesh, but they're just on a different level that we are. They're in a different plane. So, but they know how to talk. And I've talked to my crystals before. I've even had conversations with them. And I'll tell you a story later, but I don't want to tell you now because that will take me off the path also. So what you want to do is you pick your crystals and you want to ask them, this is what I need. Are you guys willing to help me? And you'll feel good if they're there to help you. If they're not going, you're not really going to get much. Put those down, pick something else up. But once you have crystals that are willing to help you with your issue is, then you have to ask them specifically, okay, well, I need help with a broken heart. I need to mend my heart and I need to fill the hole in my heart energetically and spiritually. This is what I need. And that's how you program a crystal. Okay, so
Okay.
you're enlisting their help, and if you're getting them to allow you to do that in the beginning, they're going to help you. And then you keep those with you and you keep them for as long as you need them.
Makes sense.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, answers a whole lot of questions.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, because I tend to be the type that'll go through the crystal store and I let myself be drawn because I've always been real energy sensitive. So I just go and I find and I feel it in my heart when it's like, okay, this is the one. I don't know why I need it. I'm not good at memorizing all the titles or all the rules about different. I just know. And there's that childlike, and I think that's where it's helpful for me is that I don't go in there with a manual that tells me what I need. I don't have a grocery list. I go in there and I let it pull me to where it needs to. And sometimes out here in the mountains, what I need is what's in the mountain stream. It's like I just get pulled to what I need. Sometimes it's sitting on a rock, sometimes so I think that too is part of what you're talking about. Sometimes we got to stop worrying about all the rules and just let our intuition draw us to what we need. And I think people forget to do that. So
That's a perfect way to do it. I was going to talk about the chakras because I think that's
Please.
another level of it, if that's okay with you guys.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
So another way that you can choose your crystals is if you know what issue you have, or you kind of have a little bit understanding of what's going on. If you're familiar with the chakra system, then you can choose crystals that will actually help you with the issues you have. And we were talking about this last night too. Let's say you have a problem with being sovereign. You allow other people to tell you what to do all the time. You're kind of like a wet dish rag, and you don't, you don't kind of stand up for yourself. Okay, so that is a solar plexus chakra issue, which is where your ego sits. Okay, because what's happening is your, your third chakra or your solar plexus is underactive because you're not allowing yourself to have the courage to stand up for yourself. So yellow stones will help you with that because that will strengthen the solar plexus chakra. Now, if it's in the opposite, then we're getting into a little bit different. So you familiarize yourself with the chakras. So you have the root chakra, which is stability, uh, you know, um, human needs, that kind of stuff, money, all that kind of stuff. Second is the sacral chakra, and that's where your creativity is. That's where all your sexual organs are. That is where all of your basic emotions, love and fear, sit. Then you have your solar plexus. That's your higher emotions, of course, your sovereignty, courage, self-esteem. Your heart chakra, I don't need to explain that. Everybody knows that's love, unconditional. Throat chakra is where you speak your truth. It's also where you express your creativity. Your solar plexus where you generate, but the throat chakra is where you express it. So if you're an artist and you're having artist block or writer's block, it's because you need to work on your throat chakra. So you use blue stones for your throat chakra, and you also use orange stones to boost your creativity. See how that works? So you use them in the proper way. Then you have your sixth chakra, which is your third eye, and that's all about intuition and the clairs and opening up to spirit world and that kind of thing. And then of course your crown chakra is the connection to the higher self. So your root chakra and your crown chakra actually balance you because this goes up and the root chakra goes down to the earth. So if you're out of balance, most people are out of balance, which means they're all up here because they're all anxious and can't shut their egos off. So they think too much. And so they're out of balance. So they need to be grounded. So use black stone.
yeah, makes good sense.
Okay.
So much information. Is everyone taking notes?
I know. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm
Like
doing
that.
saying too
Perfect.
much. I don't
I'm
know.
loving it. I'm
And
loving it. So,
now you were talking about the chakras that are paired last night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting thing. That's something, again, something I had no idea. Would you explain that?
Sure.
What we talked about there?
Well, I'm going to make a very crude drawing so that you
Okay.
can get it, because if I just point to my body, you won't be able to see it. So,
Okay.
and I don't draw, that's my son's job. But it's just going to be a stick figure, okay? So,
Yeah.
all right.
That's okay. And what we're talking about, folks, is the chakras. There are pairings of the chakras. So if you have an issue in one, you can work. I'm going to have her clarify this. Work both chakras at the same time or opposite to, and she's going to show us how. She's going to tell us how.
Yeah, you're going to laugh at my drawing, but that's okay.
Okay, we won't laugh. I promise.
I don't care. All right, so here's the
Oh,
drawing.
that's not bad. See, we get that.
Oh,
We
okay,
get that.
so this down here is the first chakra, then you
Right.
go up, of course. Whoops, up this way. All right, so what happens is, let's say that let's take the one example I did last night. A lot of people that are developing their intuition, they use a lot of purple stones or dark blue stones, and they get what they call a third eye headache. Okay, it's very common. So what the complement to the sixth chakra is the second chakra. So if you have a third eye headache, you take a piece of carnelian, you just plunk it right here for about 10 minutes. And what it does is it actually closes down the energy and removes the headache. Because sometimes it's just so open that you're pouring energy out, and that's why you get a headache. So let's say you need to your throat chakra is overactive. Okay, you're talking too much. You're being a know-it-all. That kind of thing. Okay, so the fifth chakra is the third chakra, which is the self-esteem, because your self-esteem. So what you need to do is you need to take your Yellowstone and you need to put it here on the throat chakra, excuse me.
Yeah.
Right, to close down that energy, because the third chakra is where the personal power and the self-esteem are, but it's out of balance. So you have to close the energy down.
Perfect sense.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why this chart works really good. So if you guys want to, you start from the top and the root chakra are, if you can connect the crown and the root chakra, then the rest is easy. Just yeah. So
I love that. Did you know that, Diana? I had no idea.
It's so simple, and yet we would never think to make those connections.
It is very simple, but it works great though. I mean, I tell you what, and especially with the carnelian, anytime you ever get that third eye headache, just
I'm a third eye headache kind of girl, so I'm liking that advice.
Right, I know. Mine's always open too. So
too much. The brain can't handle all that energy.
Right.
Very interesting stuff. Thank you for that. I'm going to take a picture of your drawing later before we leave. I need a picture of that. That's great.
I have to sign it.
Yeah, give us your signature.
Right.
It beats the art. We can have it framed on the wall.
Hey, you know what? Our art's in the eye, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right?
I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So wait a minute. We got a question. Lauren, the third eye and stomach are connected. Is that how you're seeing it? The third eye and stomach, third eye and solar.
The third eye,
the third eye, solar plexus is what you were saying.
The third eye and the sacral chakra.
And the sacral. So that's down your second. That makes sense, Lauren?
So it's like 1 and 7, 2 and 6.
So they come together. Okay,
right.
That makes sense.
Right, and then 5 and 3. Because the heart, you don't need anything. The
heart stands alone, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to close your heart energy down. You really don't. But if you, let me say this. if you're a person who, if you, like, for instance, you get stuck with a narcissist and you're trying your hardest to make them love you, okay, you might want to consider wearing a black stone on your chest just to close the energy down a little bit so you're not so open and vulnerable.
That makes sense.
Okay. But just be careful though, wearing a black stones around your chest can cause you to be really tired, lethargic, grumpy, you know. So it's like being hangry without the hungry. So you want to keep an eye out for that, and then take it off, and you should feel better in about 10 minutes after that. But that's the only thing I would ever use to close down a heart chakra. Otherwise, I don't mess with the heart chakra. I just put, at nighttime, I sleep with about 6 rose quartzes right on my chest.
That's great.
Every night. I was like, okay, girls, come on.
So let me ask you a question. And this is before I knew anything about myself, but I did have some inkling of, intuitive healer type thing was always there. And I remember my son had been he's got a mitral valve prolapse, and sometimes he gets that racing heart. And I remember he was really scared. He had a lot of fear related to that. And I gave him a crystal, and he used to wear it on a thing, and I had him wear it around his neck. And I think it was just a clear quartz, or it was a clear crystal, but he wore it around his neck for a long time. And I remember one day he said that crystal actually split. It broke. It just is it possible that when you do have something going on in your body that's drawing a lot of energy off of your crystal, is it possible that we can actually wear them out, or they can?
Oh yeah, absolutely. See, the thing is that most crystals, not all of them, there's a very, very few exceptions, but most crystals need to be retuned. A lot of people talk about cleansing, but they don't really need to be cleaned. All right, let me give you a little lesson in vibration first, and then we'll understand.
Back up.
Okay. So crystals vibrate at very stable frequencies. Okay. Yeah. The thing that measures them is hertz. Okay. A hertz is a vibrational measurement, and 1 hertz is usually 1 vibration a second. So 1,000 hertz is 1,000 vibrations a second, and a megahertz is 1,000 vibrations a second. Okay. So our bodies, we vibrate at specific frequencies. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, wait, no, let me leave that alone. Let me just talk about the crystal. Otherwise, I'm going to go off that tangent again. All right. So for instance, the reason why I know this number is because I teach it. Okay. So quartz vibrates at 32,762 megahertz. Wow. That's really fast. I mean, you can't even see that with an electronic microscope. It's a blur. Okay, that's how fast they vibrate. So there is a reason why they use quartz crystals in every electronic device known to man. You've heard of semiconductors, right? Semiconductors are just synthetic quartz crystals. They grow them in the lab, and they have the specific frequencies. A quartz watch. You ever see a guy do this with his wrist? What he's doing is he's taking the little drum and he's hitting the quartz crystal, because when you smack a quartz crystal, it creates an electronic spark.
Interesting.
Okay, so crystals are very stable. So, oh yeah, that's right. It does. I do have to tell you about the body. So we vibrate at between 62 and 70 megahertz on a good day. Okay. Most of the time, if we got a cold, or we have the flu, or what, I don't want to use that word. Sorry, cold. Whatever. You get sick. You vibrate about 52 megahertz, and if you have a debilitating disease, you're going to vibrate at about 40. If you're ready to cross over, your body vibrates at a 20. So the lower you vibrate, things are going to stop. Yeah. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to raise your vibration. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the way crystals help us is that there's a principle in this universe. It's a physical principle. It's called entrainment. And what entrainment means is that when you take 2 vibrating bodies and you bring them together, the lower one will always raise up to meet the higher one, always, without exception. It's a law, a universal law. So if we hold on to a quartz crystal that vibrates at 32,000 plus, and we're vibrating at, say, 65, what do you think happens to our vibration?
Raises up.
It goes up. And the longer you hold on to it, the longer it will stay with you. See, it's not that like you hold the crystal, you put it down and it stops. Okay, your body doesn't work that fast. So you're vibrating, and let's say you hold on for 20, 30 minutes, you're going to be vibrating at a higher rate for a lot longer than just 20 minutes. So that's why it's really important for you to pick the correct crystals that are going to vibrate at the right frequencies to help you and train with them so that you can raise your vibration. And then once you raise your vibration, that is when the body heals itself. See, the body's what heals you. The crystals don't heal you. They help you heal.
Interesting.
They don't do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
They help you by raising your vibration so that the body can heal itself. Is that
exactly?
Okay. So why then did and I'm sure I'm missing the obvious point here. So why would the crystal break apart?
Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry. So the crystal breaks apart because remember we talked about retuning.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
I didn't get that far because I got off track again. Sorry.
No, that's okay. All this is good information. I'm loving this. Oh my God.
Okay. So retuning means, because the crystals are so stable, they don't really get out of tune very much. But sometimes they do, like a piano gets out of tune. Okay. So you have to get them back to their original frequency. All right. And there's only a couple of ways to do that. And all that other stuff that you do with the moon and the sun, maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. But the rest of that stuff, they like it, but it's not going to get them back to where they were. Okay. So what you got to use is the highest vibration stone that we know of is selenite. That will do it. They love selenite. Oh my God, my crystals beg me to put them on there.
I love
selenite. I know. There you go. Oh man, that's one of my favorite. Yep. Yep. Okay, wait. All right. I guess I got.
Okay, you got to pull yours out now too. I showed you yours. Mine. You show me yours. All right.
She's got one just like mine. We got her selenite. That's funny. Because these are the charging stations. They're flat. See, you can your other crystals on them.
Yeah, those are great for retuning your crystals. So you just you plunk them on there. In about 20 minutes, are happy. But you can take a bowl, throw all your tumbleweeds in there, and then throw a piece of selenite right in the middle. And then just leave them in there until they're. Oh, look at you!
I'm bathing in it right now.
You can actually retune. You can actually retune your chakras with selenite too.
They feel so good.
Yeah, it does. So okay, so retuning. So one of the ways is selenite. Okay, another way is you use very loud sound, like a singing bowl. You can tone with your voice. Don't use music because it's like the dishwasher method. You kind of phrase it everywhere. It doesn't really work. But if you use singing bowls or tuning forks or, or your voice, you can use your voice. You just start vocalizing until the crystals will get you to where you need to be. And they'll help you with that. So, and they love it when you sing to them. So, and then the other thing that you can do
might not like it when I sing to them, but some people might. I'm just kidding.
Well, you may not like your voice, but they do. So the other thing you can do is you can put in the sun. Sun has a lot of energy. It's called prana in the Sanskrit. But you don't want to leave them there too long because it's so strong that it will make your crystals fade. So you don't want to leave it there too long, maybe 10 minutes. That's all. Okay. But selenite's the safest. And you can leave it in there as long as you want.
So why did that boy's crystal break in half?
Yes.
Oh God. Oh, I'm so sorry. All right. So if you don't retune your crystals, they get all out of tune and then they go, yeah.
That's what it did.
Okay.
They just break because they're just so full and they need relief. And if you don't understand that, I would say if you're using crystals on a regular basis, you should retune them at least once a week. If you're wearing,
No, I was just going to say that this boy he was going through a very difficult time in that point where he was wearing that all the time emotionally. So he was probably draining that, really working that crystal.
Yep, that crystal was going.
Like, oh, you got to Yeah, I didn't know anything about it at that point. He's just wearing it all the time, so he just
Yeah.
drained the life out of it.
Yeah. That's
Make-
what happened. Couldn't take
Wow.
anymore. So so you do have to keep them happy, and you have to retune them. Um some crystals don't need to be retuned, like selenite. You don't really have to retune that. I have heard, and this is just a traditional thing, that citrine, blue kyanite, and carnelian, and I forget there was one other one. I think it was selenite that don't need to be retuned. I've never really. I've always put them all with the selenite because sometimes they ask me. So
Okay, so that leads me to you were going to tell us a
a
story
story, right?
talking to your crystals. May we do that now?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so one time we were at a flea market and it was dead. It was the middle of summer. There was nobody there. So I always bring my supplies with me. So if I'm there, I do a lot of wire wrapping too. So I had this really nice blue tiger's eye, and no, I'm not gonna look for it now. But I had this really, it was about an inch and a half by about an inch wide. It was really pretty. The stripes were going across this way. So I decided to wrap it in some sterling because most people wrap tiger's eye in gold color. And I just thought it'd be a nice contrast. So, and it was a simple 3-wire wrap. It just nothing out of the ordinary. Should take me 20 minutes. So 45 minutes later, the wires just wouldn't stay on. So I picked them up and I went, and I know it was a heat because you can feel the masculine and feminine energies from these rocks. A lot of them are masculine and feminine because of the earth energy they carry with them. So I'm going, all right, what's the matter? You don't like sterling? And I swear to God, I'm not making this up. I said, no. I went, oh no. All right. Why don't you like sterling? And it goes, it doesn't go with my eyes. I started to burst out laughing. Oh my God. The darn thing wanted to tell me a joke. And then 5 minutes later, I had it wrapped.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
That's
And,
so funny.
and every once in a while, it'll remind me, tell them the story, So,
That's so much.
tiger's eyes are so chatty and they're like
Those
really
are the ones
sassy.
that they're the divas, aren't they? It's like
They
no.
are. Yeah, because they're solar plexus, so they're all ego.
That makes perfect sense.
So,
But
what was
yeah.
it like being in your store? Now, I had the great pleasure of coming to your store and being in your store many times, and I loved it. I loved sitting in your store because it was just like you just sit there and go, "Ah." But I mean, so you're very gifted. I know this about you. You do readings, you hear things, you see things, and everything else. What was that like sitting? Well, and you have them around you now, but I mean, what was that like sitting there? And okay, an addendum to that question is, as people came in, did stones ever make comments about the people that would come in, or would it maybe a customer come in to buy a stone and that stone is like screaming, no, 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 I don't want to go home with them. I mean, I think of these weird things.
Well, okay. Let me ask the first part, which is what
Okay,
it was like to sit there with all those rocks, basically is what you're asking, right?
right.
Okay. So my store was very tiny. It was 400 square feet, and 2/3 of that was rocks. But I had been living with them for the last 9 years because we had a rock and mineral business and we used to go to shows and we would keep them home. So they were always here with me. So I get used to that energy, but people will walk in my house and go, oh my God, the energy in here is so intense. How can you take it? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about because I got so used to it. But but I was so grateful when I got the shop because then I was able to, because we used to keep them in big cases. It's stacked in like jewelry trays. So they never really got a chance to come out. So when I got the shop, I put them all out and they were like, oh, Mom, this is awesome. Look at all this room. Look at, oh my God. And they would talk to each other and they would, they would just be so happy to be out, And then every day I would tell them, because they were like, well, we want to stay here with you. And I'm like, well, you know, that's a problem because, see, I'm your foster mom. And so I pay for the privilege of bringing you here. And then somebody else pays for the privilege of bringing you home to your forever home. They go, okay, we got that. We understand. It's cool. And so then every once in a while, if I was slow at the shop, I'd say, all right, guys, let's go. Bring in your forever homes, bring your people in. So, yeah, so it was really cool to just walk around. And then they were pretty good when I had customers in the shop. They weren't really too chatty or sassy, but they were very helpful when people were needing things. And I would go over, see, in the front of our shop against the window, we had all the tumblestones and they were all arranged in rainbow order. So it was very easy to find them. So I would go up to the front with them and then they would talk to me. They would come in and say, well, what do you have for negativity? Could you be a little more specific?
That's a pretty broad question.
I know. So then they would go bleh, and they would pour their heart out because they didn't want to unload. They wanted something to help them, but they were hurting so much they couldn't help it. So then after I would talk to them for 20, 30 minutes, then I would get a really good idea of what they really needed. Because they would come in with a long laundry list of crystals they found on the internet and all this designer stuff and names I never even heard of. And I've been doing this for 9 years, so I'm pretty familiar with the rocks out there, and I don't know them all, but there are so many crystals that you can use that you don't necessarily have to pay $50 for that will do the same thing for 10. So I would bring them up front and then I would say, okay, well, this is this kind of an issue. So, I think I would recommend this. And then I would point them to a container and I would pull them all out and I would say, here, you pick. Sometimes I want me to, but I would pull out, say, 5 or 6 of them because they would just shine at me a little more, or they would, they wave their little rock hands at me and they would, they get my attention. And so I knew that would be the one. And sometimes I wouldn't pick it out. Sometimes let them do it. And they would pick out the same ones that I was getting the messages from. So I knew that was the right one for them.
Interesting.
So it was a longer process, but it was so wonderful because they got what they needed and they felt good when they left. They didn't come in with that black cloud over their head. They left feeling better. Even if it was gray, it's better than black.
Yeah.
So
did you find that happened a lot when people would come in, if they came in with kind of a negative attitude or like the weight of the world on their shoulders, just being in there around all of those stones would lift up their vibration enough to make them feel better?
Well, some of my customers would just come in and sit in the back corner of my store.
Yeah.
Just come in, right? Hi, come to visit. Okay. Yeah. They would just walk in and just stand there and just, enjoy the energy, the calming, the healing, the balancing, the rooting, and just sit there and they would stay for hours, which is fine with me because I'm there all day anyway.
Yeah.
You could have a little coffee shop and just put your little crystals around.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
Everybody would come in and they wouldn't know why. They'd be like, "This is so good. I really want to do that here because around here there's nothing like that. And I want to build something where when they walk in,
how about a tea shop?
We got crystals. I know teas. That's what I really want. I've been seeing myself do that here for a long time.
Yep.
Because when they walk in, they feel comforted. They don't really know why. We got lavender in the diffuser, and we're like, it's just they walk in and everything about it bombards them peace.
Yep,
and it's
absolutely.
so rare to find that kind of place.
It is.
Especially around here, it's so chaotic.
I know. You're in California, right?
No, now I'm in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which is
in Tennessee. That's right.
Yeah, okay. Total tourist and chaotic, and they don't really understand. it's very difficult to find places around here that have healthy foods or anything that feels grounding. And the whole, everything around here is grounding, like the ancient rock that we're
Oh, I know. It's wonderful.
That's why they're drawn to it. They just don't know why they're drawn.
Oh.
Because it's an energetically healing place, no matter what. If they go out in the mountains, you can feel it. I drive into the national park and my whole being just goes clunk. It's like, okay, let's just stay right here. Yes. It feels really good. That's what they're drawn to. So I feel like here, a crystal shop or a tea shop or something with all that.
Yes.
Like perfection for people. So
it would be. I used to diffuse essential oils all day long at the shop. And then when the virus thing started happening, I used to diffuse thieves oil because it was antiviral, antibacterial, and everybody just absolutely loved it stuff. Have you ever smelled thieves oil before?
Yes, yes.
Oh my God, I love that.
I actually did thieves oil spray on my trip when I went I went to Gatlinburg first and stayed. Then I went to Baltimore, and then I went back to Gatlinburg, and then I took a container and did thieves oil liquid and in paper towels, and I wiped that down. So I use it all the time now. I'm absolutely a big fan of it. Yeah, big fan. And every time I'd go out, I'd have my mask on and that, but I would spray everything down when I got back in the car, spray myself down, you know.
Get your fear away, which, as you were talking a little while ago, you're talking about these crystals raising our vibration. Yeah. What pulls our vibration down? Fear. Anything that comes from fear pulls that vibration down. So any way that we can find that pulls that vibration back up through the crystals, through meditation, through nature, putting your feet on the earth, anything like that starts picking that vibration back up. So, I love the way you're putting it, because I've never really, I know that crystals really help my vibration, but you're giving the science behind it. So I appreciate that a great deal.
Oh, you're welcome. I like to do that because when I used to go to the shows, and I had some skeptics come in the shop too. And so I would tell them. And one day I had this guy, oh my gosh, he was awful. He really didn't believe anything. He thought everything was crap. And so I told him about entrainment, all that stuff. And then he looked at me and he got all frustrated. He goes, well, that's what you believe. And he walked out because what can he say to that,
Right. Yeah, it is what I believe. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I just showed you why too. So
Hope asked the question, what is thieves oil? Oh. And that's a really big question. I didn't know what it was when I first heard of it either. In fact, I'd been hearing about it for years and still didn't know. So would you explain to people what that is?
Well, it started it's kind of a legend. It's not an urban legend, but it's a legend. What happened is back in medieval times when they had the plague, there were people, of course, people were dying all over the place. And so these guys were spice traders, and they were ransacking the bodies and they weren't getting sick. And so they eventually got caught, and they were like, all right, you guys have to tell us why you're not getting sick. And then, we'll just hang you. We won't chop your head off. So they told them, and what they did was, because they were spice traders, they traded in clove, cinnamon, lemon, eucalyptus, and rosemary. Those are the 5 that make up the thieves blend. And every one of them is antibacterial and antiviral. And these are proven. I'm not making this up. You can look on the internet and find the studies that prove that these oils work. And you can use also, it doesn't necessarily have to be essential oils. You can use fresh ginger. You can make a ginger syrup and use that as an antibacterial and as an immune booster. You can use elderberries. Of course, we were talking about that. And you can use, oh my goodness, there's, I can't think right off the bat. My head's starting to swim right now, but
we got a lot.
But now, at least we got out the formula for the thieves oil.
Yes.
But now, what I want to say to you all is that if you're going to make your own, right, you have to understand that clove and cinnamon are very volatile hot oils. Yes. And you never want to use them past a 1.5 to 2% dilution at the very most. Otherwise, they'll be too irritating, and it won't be. actually suffer more than it'll help you. After a while, you'll develop an irritation.
Right.
And you never want to ingest them. Please, please, please do not ingest essential oils.
Very
Do not.
But you can get, I know different essential oil companies, I know have a thieves
One in particular
blend.
I'm thinking of, yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that,
I also
I
sell it
actually
too.
have a, yeah, I have, and actually there's one company, some friends of mine that are distributors, they have a thieves oil cleaner and it's a bottle.
Right.
And you can then take some of that and dilute it and make a spray or whatever.
Right.
And that's what I
Yeah, you
did.
put in alcohol or vinegar or
Yeah.
even, a little water and witch hazel, but you got to, essential oils, they float on top of water. So you have to use something that's going to mix with them. But I also sell thieves oil too. I have my own version.
Okay, awesome.
Well,
That's good
excellent.
to know.
That's even better to know. I always like to go to, a private person
Me
instead
too.
of the great big companies. I'd much rather come to you and get
Well,
it
mine's,
made. And
mine's less expensive.
yes, that's one big plus. The other is these people that we trust, and I'm just big on supporting the little guys.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing for us to do. So
This day and age, it's very important.
yes, it
It
is.
really is. Yeah. I mean, I love there were some memes going on about, when all of this is over, please go out and support your local businesses. Please
Yeah.
do, because, I know you just went through the having to close the store because of what just happened and
Yeah.
you're not alone. It's small businesses like yours that got really hit the hardest with
Yeah.
all this happening. So, but as you said, when one door closes, hopefully another one will open and you may not be in that location, but that is not going to keep you down or
Oh
out.
no.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
we got the shop, it dropped in our lap, so I'm hoping it'll do the same this time.
yeah,
No.
too.
You
Absolutely.
do is so necessary that I'm sure things will just kind of fall into place, just
Oh, yeah.
exactly the way that they're supposed to. I love
You
your
want me to
energy.
tell
I
you
like
the story about how we got in the shop? So,
Um, Now we did talk a little bit because I know one of our viewers asked us last week if anybody had any experience with fairies or sprites or divas and that. So of course I was curious. It wasn't something that we've really talked about much on this show. We've talked a lot about talking to people who have crossed over, angels, and I know you do have those experiences that if you have any really fun stories you'd like to share with us. But you had some interesting things to say about working with the fairies or talking to them.
well, uh, the ones that live in my house are more like little munchkins. They like to wreak havoc. They like to veil. They like to steal my stuff. Stuff like that. They're mischievous, and that's fine. I mean, they haven't really bothered me lately because I brought all the rocks home from the shop, and so they're all here, and all they have to do is just go through the plastic bags and
Play.
and they complain sometimes. They're like, well, that's in a box. I'm like, you guys are light beings. That's not going to stop you. So stop your complaining. Don't whine. Just do it. So they every once in a while, if I've been ignoring them, they'll create mischief, and then I have to give them more crystals because they just and how it started was that about 8 years ago I was starting to do jewelry, and I heard the fairies say we want shiny, so I took a few of my charms and I strung them on a piece of wire and I hung them up, and about 2 weeks later they go, we want more shinies, we want more shinies, and so I made this really long piece of wire, I don't know, about 50 or 60 charms, and then after that they were never satisfied and wanted me to keep giving them rocks. So every time I get new ones, they always get the little pieces, and the poor little ones that aren't really people. Most people wouldn't love them, so I love them and I give them to the fairies, and so then they're like really happy. Um, and then about the devas, I don't really see devas, but I do have several rocks that have deva spirits in them because I see the faces. That's how you tell you have a deva, a rock deva, or any kind of deva. If even I've seen faces in trees, on the ground. I've seen them. Any elemental uh, inhabits the earth and all of its constituents. So you're going to have devas or earth spirits that will inhabit. Sometimes they inhabit the rocks, and if you see a face, don't doubt yourself. That's a deva, okay? And they're they're very handy to have around because they help with connecting you to the earth and help you ground. So it's really great if you find one. You should absolutely cherish it and keep it wherever you need to be able to balance yourself. They're very powerful.
Okay. So do you just talk to them? Like if you have one, like say there was one in my selenite. So would I just talk to it and say, hi, hello, how are you today? And I need
You
some help.
you can, and then don't be surprised if you hear an answer back,
Okay, cool.
because they'll communicate with you on the level that you're able to hear them.
Can I
Okay.
ask you a question?
Sure.
When you go out, like I have a thing for trees and I hug trees and I'm so drawn to nature. So there's this huge tree in this place that we go that I'm totally love this tree.
Are
And
you
I
an
was
earth
sick
sign?
last week. Okay, yeah, I don't
Are
know
you
that.
an
Anyway,
okay?
definitely, I think I'm all of it, all of the above. Just consider me everything. So
Okay.
when, sorry, so when I went to this tree and I had this wicked headache. Like I couldn't get this headache to go away. I walk up to the tree, and this is the first time that I've talked to trees before, but this one I felt like really answered me. I walked up to it, and I'm like there with it, and I'm like, oh, can I give you a, or can I just come close? And it was like I felt like the tree was like, yes, drawing me in. And then I'm like, I just kind of put my hands on the tree, and I heard the tree. I swear, I heard the tree say, heart to heart, and I'm like, oh yes, most definitely. So I put my heart right on the heart's tree. That headache was gone. I
Oh,
had been
that's
fighting that
awesome.
headache a week, and it was like that tree was like, and I still feel like that tree is just every time I go there, I got to go say hi to that tree. Do you feel like that's the tree itself, or do you feel like maybe
Oh, absolutely.
inhabited
Oh,
by?
yeah. Well, devas are spirits that inhabit earth constituents, but
Right.
not all trees have the devas in them, but all plant materials, rock, anything that the earth has been, that anything that's of the earth
Mm-hmm.
is, it definitely has its own energy, it's an entity. It's just not on the same plane as we are. That's why a lot of people don't believe it, because rocks don't have mouths.
Right.
They don't have voices. Well, they do, but they
We
talk
do,
to
but
you
we
in
don't
here,
listen.
though. See,
Mm-hmm.
they talk to you here.
Right.
They don't,
Mm-hmm.
or here.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they talk to you.
Right. It's paying attention because I think that they've always been communicating more with me than I am aware of. I just haven't been listening. With this one, it was definitely an even exchange. It was like,
Oh,
oh, I just
absolutely.
love you so much. Can I come in close? Instead of just assuming that it's okay, because I think most of the time human beings walk over the earth and just assume that we have dominion over everything.
Yeah.
Like we can touch an animal if we want to, we can touch a tree, we can do this, we can do that. It The change for me was slowing down long enough to respect it enough to say, hey, do you mind if I come into your space? Can I put my hands on you? Can I hold you? Because I know the trees are benefiting. It's an equal exchange of energy.
Sure.
That tree wants me to be there as much as I want that tree to be there. But it was a respect thing to me, to not
Hmm.
just, to ask, because it feels like the
Absolutely.
queen of the forest to me. That one's like, that tree is this huge, bigger than any other tree. It feels like this is the queen here, and I'm going to go before her, and I want to ask her if it's okay. It felt different than the other trees to me. So I guess there's just a lot of, that's where the headache was coming from. Like we talked
Yeah.
about earlier, that big third
Right.
eye headache. That
Yep.
third eye is so active now that I'm sensing more the energy of the tree, I guess. So it felt good to respect her that way. She's definitely a her. She's the queen. Yeah.
That's awesome. It is important to respect life in all its forms.
Yeah.
And even if they don't breathe, they're still alive. And I mean, my plants outside, I ask permission for it. Like I have my rosemary bush outside. I ask it before I cut a couple of branches, and I feel bad. I have a friend of mine who she apologizes to the grass if she walks on it.
I feel
That's
that way too. I
yeah.
walk through, I'm like so careful not to, I don't want to step on anything because it feels very disrespectful.
But you also got to understand, just give me 1 second, that they know that they were put on this earth for us. See, plants have most plants have healing properties.
Mhm.
In fact, they all do. Okay, so they're here for us, and so, but we have to respect that, because that is such a gift that they give us, that we have to be grateful, we have to be thankful, because after a while, they know your heart. They know if you're just, trying to tear them up and rip them up, and then you're not really going to get any energy out of it. You're just going to get the plant, but you're not going to get the essence of the plant. You're not going to get the love and
Slow down
the
and
part of it that's part of the creator.
yeah, that's what I say is you've got to slow down. You've got to be, when you walk into the forest, you need to slow down. That's where the elementals come in. That's where the magic comes, by slowing down and really just living and breathing the essence of there's so much life there and we miss it. We just walk through. We're just like, I'm just hiking to the top of this. And what are you looking at? What's right here? I'm like, what? Right
Exactly.
now?
You miss all that,
So delicious. It's like you're eating a feast everywhere you go. Your eyes are just, oh, it's so beautiful. The smells. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's magical when we allow it to be, isn't it?
It is.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So Jeryl Ann, guess what? We're to the closing.
I
We gotta
know.
give you some contact information.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
This is-
yeah. How does everybody get a hold of Karen?
Well, probably Facebook is the best way, and I'm sorry if you don't have it. The other thing is that you can you can use my Mama Gaia's email address. So it's Mama Gaia with an S at the end. So MAMAGAIAS at yahoo.com. That's one way. And then if you have Facebook, uh, the woman who had the shop before us, she made a really long name. And so it's Mama Gaia's, oh my gosh, I don't even remember what it is. It's well, just do a search on Facebook for Mama Gaia's and you'll find it. It's
You can post it after we're done here too.
yeah, it's Mama Gaia's I'm sorry.
We'll list everything on the Beyersdorfer Institute.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Please go to the buyer's.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. And can they private message you at Karen Scolente?
Yeah, they can, but they have to ask for, they got to be a friend first before I'll know that they've messaged me.
Okay. Okay.
Because otherwise it goes to the spam folder and I don't usually check those.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand.
So, but if they message me on the Mama Gaia page, then I'll absolutely get it.
Okay. Good. Good.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I remember Mama Gaia's Mystique Boutique.
Mystique Boutique.
I love that. I love that.
It is kind of cool.
And I miss it. It was the coolest little store. So
Thank you.
But
I miss it too.
there'll be a better new version at some point, somehow, some way.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes. So absolutely. Thank you so much. I tell you what, I learned so much today. And I mean, I've been doing this a long time, but I didn't realize there was so much more. And to me, this is magical. This is mystical because we don't oftentimes acknowledge the life forms of our crystals, of our essential, of everything, the plants and all of that. So thank you for using your voice to speak for those entities, if you will, that cannot speak for themselves to the normal person. So
My pleasure. It's been so much fun. I hope we can do this again sometime.
I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. I want to take one of your classes. I've always said I am, and now it's like, okay, now I have this real thirst for knowledge. I just realized today how much I really don't know. Okay. So yeah, it's time for me to take one of your classes for sure.
Cool. Well, I will look forward to that.
Yes.
And it was a pleasure meeting you too, Diana.
Yeah, so nice to get to know you. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Yes, we will.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for all of this that you've shown us. I know our audience has loved it and there's going to be many more watching it. And I just really appreciate you sharing yourself with us today.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys
And I'd also just like to quick thank Julie about my haircut. If y'all notice, I have a whole new look today. And
That's
I just
great.
want to thank my hairdresser, Jackie at Reggie's in DeLand. My hairdresser lives exactly right where Karen lives. So I just wanted to give her
Oh,
that little
cool.
plug. She does such a great job. So thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. That's beautiful. If you were close, I'd come to you too. All right, you guys, thank you so much to everyone that's been watching, that's been posting questions and things. We appreciate you so much. We'll try to catch up to you shortly, but thank you so much for watching today. And we will be back next week at 3:33 Eastern time for Silent Mystics. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.